Woo! Ooh, Harry Potter. I can't say for sure how the game on full release is going to be, but consider this a review of this game based on the demo.
Black Oni.
Final Fantasy has always done a phenomenal job with their music. The music is by far like one of the best soundtracks of a Final Fantasy game I could think of. It's really hard to compete with the Sephiroth main theme from Final Fantasy VII, but of the set pieces that we played, of the tranquil moments that we played, of the crazy boss battles we've played, this sounds phenomenal. I'm really, really digging, especially the fight where you're fighting Ifrit as the Phoenix. Mwah. Epic music. The fact that the game goes back and forth between time, at least based on like the regular story stuff that we were just doing, I like that idea because it kind of shows contextually what's going on with these characters, why they are how they are, as you're kind of experiencing them through the game. I will say that it does sound and feel a lot like Final Fantasy 15 in terms of the way that they presented the future, and then they showed you like past events and you played through the past. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be like that. It seems a lot more like you'll be playing present, but there'll be moments where you go back into the past. In terms of companions, it really feels like companions are kind of coming in and out of your life. I don't know if the companions are going to be as strong as they are in other Final Fantasy games just because of the relationships that the characters are building in real time as you're playing the game. You know, even the little quips in battle, or even, you know, in Final Fantasy 15, you had all the three amigos playing alongside Noctis, and they would camp out for the night and they would talk about their day and talk about what they want to see happen in the future and all this other stuff. They were able to form really close bonds in that game and many other Final Fantasy games. And this, again, it's a demo, so it's hard to tell, but none of the companions are really standing out as like, oh man, I can't wait to have more of this companion around. Like Cid, I assume Cid is going to be kind of like a captain of a ship, similar to how he is in other Final Fantasy games, but you didn't really get a sense really what his personality was like yet. So there's that. Visually, the game is stunning. Like the visual effects and the spectacle of those effects is insane. It's almost too much to keep up with at times. And in that same vein, the camera has a hard time keeping up with the action sometimes. I never really found that good camera angle for engaging in fights. And when you're in close quarters, the camera kind of blocks off a lot of the view of what's going on around you. As great as this experience was, and as the game is so far, there are some things that do need to be fixed and addressed. The biggest thing that stood out to me that needed to be fixed was the controls. For some reason, R1 is your dodge button and circle is one of your abilities. And I find that like really, really, really strange. Like, to train my brain to use R1 as a dodge button, if we could just switch those and just only those, that would be amazing. But clearly, for some reason, they don't want us to be able to do that. There's also no ability to turn off motion blur. For some reason, Square Enix games tend to miss out on some of these features that are kind of integral. There's one other thing that I'll call out as a negative, in my opinion, is that in some of the talking scenes, not necessarily a cut scene, the facial animations look a lot like how they did in Forspoken, kind of dead-eyed, pan-faced. You know, the mouth is moving. The eyebrows will move a little bit every once in a while. That was noticeable to me because that was one of my criticisms of Forspoken. I hope that that gets addressed or fixed in some way. I know it's a lot to do because there's a lot of bits of dialogue throughout the game, but that's definitely something that I noticed. Another thing that I noticed about the demo, and conversely the game after that as well, is that another comparison to Forspoken, because I feel like Forspoken is the blueprint to Final Fantasy 16. In Forspoken, you had access to more abilities at once at any given time. You have the ability to go into a radial menu and just use different spells right off the rip. And it seems like in this game, you have the ability to equip almost as many spells that exist in Forspoken. I don't know the number of those spells in this game, but I know Forspoken has a ton of spells, and you can access all of those at the flick and hold of different buttons. It doesn't seem like that's a possibility in this game, and I'm wondering why, especially considering Forspoken was the lead-in to Final Fantasy 16. Like, I feel like they made that game as an experiment to see what works and what doesn't for this game. And so I'm hoping that by the time the game comes out, there will be like some kind of radial thing. You hold L2 to bring up the list, all of your abilities, and then throw that in. In terms of the combat itself, it's fluid, it's fast, it's action-packed, chaotic in moments. I will say that the lock-on mechanic is pretty poor. Several times I've tried to switch lock-on targets, and it didn't seem like there was a way to do that. It could just be me, and I could have missed the instructions on how to do that, but it doesn't seem like there is even the ability to switch targets and lock on. And then when you are locked on, it feels like if it's a character kind of sneaking up on you and attacking you, you don't see any indication. At least I didn't. Maybe the action was too chaotic for me. I will say that the combat feels extremely, extremely fun. I love that you have the perfect dodge system. I love that you have a dodge that isn't limited to a stamina bar. The pressing the attack button as you're getting attacked to do a parry, I didn't get a really good feel of what the timing window of that was like, or when you would want to use that versus just using the dodge. I feel like attacking parry is something that would probably happen by accident when you forgot to dodge or something. So I got to do a little bit more testing to see how that works. Aesthetically, it's using a lot of grays, reds, blacks. I mean, even the title screen, the cover art is very edgelord. I'm hoping to see a little bit more variance in color, a little bit more vibrancy. I have a preference towards vibrancy, towards energetic color, but I also feel that the tone that they're setting with the color palette that they have for this game makes a lot of sense considering how insanely dark this story is. Again, we did get to experience some of that vibrancy that I was talking about before in his younger years. And so maybe that's kind of like the delineation of showing and showcasing his younger, more prosperous nature. The things were great. The kingdom was prospering at that moment. So it would make sense also that the color palette would tune itself more towards a more hopeful, bright future versus a bleak and destructive and dark future. So in that way, I can't criticize it too much for its color palette, because they did at least show like the greenery and the outdoors area. I'm just hoping that we get a balance of them. I'm fine with either. It's just good when you have a mix of the two. We get the same shirt on today. Hey, let's go. Yes, chat. If you want to get yourself one of these beautiful shirts, you can go to blackoni.com/store, or just go to blackoni.com and you can get yourself an Adikata t-shirt. I'm really happy to hear you say that you're wearing that. I'm working on the next issue. I don't know when it's coming, but yeah, it is a very, very, very nice shirt in terms of the story and in terms of what we're going to get into. They went there and then they went beyond there. And like, what in the Game of Thrones hell? They did it. They did the thing. What else can be said? I do love the little call outs to older Final Fantasy games, or older games in general, where they have the over map, the world map, where you can kind of pick where you're going next, select it, and then go, as opposed to having to physically travel there all the time, like in Final Fantasy 15. That was one of my biggest gripes about that game, is that they took the travel thing too far. There were times you just want to get to where you want to get to. And this game, at least from what I can tell, seems to allow you to do that. I don't know if there is also an open world exploration that goes alongside that or not, but at the very least, we can kind of get to where we want to get to. I have no idea what the grind is going to be like, and like power leveling and kind of seeing what kind of things we can explore around these different environments. I'm hoping that we do get to experience that in this game. It would be weird if we didn't, but the voice acting has been pretty spot on. It's been top notch. I love how a lot of these characters sound. Clive, even as a younger kid, sounds so cool. I'm like, dude, I want to be you when I was 15. You kidding me?
As do we all.
Okay, voice. Like the boss battles and the summons, and they outdid themselves in terms of that. It feels like each character, each enemy has their own full move set. Like similar to how our character, Clive, has their own special abilities and magical abilities and things that they can do in battle. It seems like there's a lot of things that the enemies can do as well. And they're telegraphed just enough for you to be like, all right, I know something's coming. I got to be careful and watch out. And obviously the text that appears when that's happening helps indicate that. But there's enough stuff that surprises you in battle to make you feel like you have to be on your toes a little bit more than you would otherwise. Overall, I feel like this is a must buy. This game is going to be PlayStation exclusive for 6 months. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, this is a must buy. Like if you have a PS5, buy the game. There's no question. There's no question as to whether or not you should get it. It's a question of when you should get it. If you don't have the money to buy it right away, that's fine. Hopefully I'll have the ability to give it away. So hopefully it'll come to PC and Xbox after the 6 months. That way you can play it. Maybe it'll be on Game Pass by then. Maybe you can find a deal for it online. Overall, I think they're onto a really, really, really strong game. There are some things that I have concerns about, but they're not breaking the experience completely. It's not a perfect game because of all the reasons that I explained. But also, where are the brothers and sisters at, huh? We need some black up in here. I mean, there gotta be darker skinned people in this world. There gotta be. Nearly every Final Fantasy game had someone black in it. But I also have not finished playing the full game. I only played little segments of the game. So I'm sure that this is gonna be at least 40 hours plus. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to press the like button and subscribe to stay tuned to everything else coming to this channel, including more reviews, including more deep dives into different games. And as you can see in the background, we've got some statues set up. So we're going to be doing some statue reviews as well to kind of help bring more amazing and unique content to this channel. Thank you all so much, and I'll catch you on the next video. Game on, and Black Oni out.